Welcome your host, Caddy Frink, as she leads discussions about substance use disorder and the journey to recovery. You're listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
Gotta wait for those last few music vibes to kind of roll on through the show. I got a wonderful human looking across the table going, what have I gotten myself into? Redefining Revolution. My name is Caddy Frink, and I am a woman in long-term recovery, and I'm here to greet all you recovery-oriented folks or those who are interested in the recovery community. But first, let me thank our generous funders, including Amy Butler Foundation, Otto Bremer Trust, the Foundation, the Hardenborough Foundation, alongside many other foundations and grants and corporate and maybe some individual donors that are giving us some marvelous contributions. At any time, we are delighted to take any donations that you have for our organization to continue these incredible services that we have. And thank you for listening to this podcast and this radio series. So across the table from me is a lovely human, and that person's name is Kinzie. Kinzie, would you say hello to the people?
Hello to the people. My name's Kinzie.
Nicely done, nicely done. Probably the first time she's ever been on a radio show. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a little bit of nerves moving around, but I told Kinzie all she's got to do is just be here and just have a conversation with Caddy. So I'm going to start off the way we always do. Kinzie, what's right with you today?
What's right with me today? I got here safely.
Sweet.
I started working with y'all. That's pretty fun. I get to do something I love, so that's what's right with me today. What's right with you, Caddy?
Oh my goodness, look at her. She just rolled right into that. What's right with me today? I also got here safely, so we're at a recording studio. I think you probably all can figure out that in radio listening land. And I had an opportunity today. I'm at our satellite little office, and I got to talk to a group of about 7 or 8 people today about what Minnesota Recovery Connection does. And I saw some little bright-eyed humans and somebody who actually knew about us. Another person actually was getting services from us. But it was really nice to see people kind of go, that sounds like a cool thing that Minnesota Recovery Connection does, that peer recovery services. So I'm going to do a little addendum, a little conversation to a show we had last weekend. I want everybody to know that sometimes when we have a conversation on this show, it might not always fit well, sit right, be comfortable. And I am never, ever in any space in the work that I do going to want to make people uncomfortable. But when we are talking about recovery, and we talk about recovery from drugs, we talk about it from alcohol, we talk about it from gambling, we talk about it from having a justice-involved background. We got a lot of people, right, Kinzie, that do a lot of things.
A lot.
And there's a lot of stigma.
Yeah.
And so I want everybody to know, and I was told by a radio host that will leave nameless that, maybe your show might have some pushback sometimes. And I'm like, good. Give me pushback. Tell me what either didn't feel right, and I will blatantly apologize if I hurt somebody's feelings or somebody felt uncomfortable. And then I also want to remind everybody listening that the people who struggle with any kind of recovery, it is hard. And there's a lot of things that we already are taking a lot of heat for, and sometimes it's uncomfortable, isn't it, Kinzie?
Oh, yeah.
Recovery is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, she says. And so I just want everybody to know that if you were a little uncomfortable with a conversation at any given time, feel free to reach out to me. I have answered people personally, and also know that it's hard. It's hard to recover, and it can be uncomfortable, and you might not always like exactly what you're hearing, but I want you to have an open mind and an open heart. So I will close with that and say, for anybody who felt uncomfortable, ask yourself why you were uncomfortable, because a lot of times when we're uncomfortable, there's something we have to learn. And if you're super uncomfortable and you're ticked off with me, I'm okay with that too, because I've ticked off people in my life, and I generally say, oopsies, sorry, just like in class, right, Kinzie?
Yeah.
Whoops, didn't mean to do that, but what can I learn from it? So, Kinzie, you tell the people out there what you're doing at Minnesota Recovery Connection.
So I work through AmeriCorps Recovery Corps, and I'm a coordinator. So I got lucky with coming to Minnesota Recovery Connection, but basically what I'll be focusing on is working on projects that will be building on outreach to unhoused populations. So I've just been kind of reaching out to like shelters. I've been reaching out to encampment project coordinators and just kind of like seeing what they might need, and, setting up times to possibly meet so that we could maybe reach out to them, because that's a population that needs help and that we could be educated on. So.
Right. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll get into this when Kinzie tells a little bit more about her story, that this is a personal experience that you had at one point, correct? Living unhoused.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And so what's interesting is that, as I just said, there are stories out there, and we all have them. Yeah, she's like, yeah, we do. And what's important about what Kinzie's going to do at Minnesota Recovery Connection is that housing is a big issue for the recovery community. Gigantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there are individuals that have lived without homes. There are individuals that are in treatment that need to have housing because maybe the circumstances around their life got them evicted or kicked out, or just circumstances. Somebody got deep into the disease of addiction and they lost their resources, and thus they lost their housing. I mean, it's a multitude of reasons. And I want to say that there is a housing issue for all kinds of people, substance use or not. I mean, we know that we have a low-income housing deficit in the cities. And so what Kinzie was brought into Minnesota Recovery Connection to do is help us just find those little pockets and those places, right, where we can help folks.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay. She's like, Caddy, I don't know what to say now, so you have to keep talking. So when you first came into Minnesota Recovery Connection, what did you do for us? What was your first step into our front door?
Well, so I took the peer recovery specialist class in October, and then I started volunteering.
Ooh, I know. I remember.
I did a lot of the front desk stuff, and then I went to TRS, so
which
the
is telephone recovery
supports. So calling people, reaching out, checking in with them, see how they're doing. And then, a lot of the times I got pulled aside to do some manuals for the classes, which was fun. I like doing stuff like that. I like just like being hands-on doing projects like that. So a lot of just
helping us out.
Yeah.
Well, and then what happened is that because Kinzie was part of our organization and began to build her recovery community, become valuable to the recovery community, being at our front desk at our office, and then doing telephone recovery support, reaching out to people who asked to have a phone call periodically, and she was great at it, just so you know. I got to hear through the wall on occasion. Didn't hear the conversations, but I heard that there were conversations. And then doing tasks and being super helpful. And what we have to remember in that is people that are struggling with substance use disorder, sometimes they need to feel they're valuable, right, Kinzie?
Yeah, and I mean, there's times where I feel like, I had a time where I reached out to somebody and we had never made contact. I almost requested to take them off the list. They called back, and I think just people getting reached out to and feeling like they have that person. So when they have the courage to be like, you know what, I need somebody to talk to, or I need somebody to help me get connected with resources, I think that's a big thing. That I've noticed, at least in it. So, yeah.
It's just interesting when you're part of an organization that is just really about connecting with people. Mm-hmm. I mean, Minnesota Recovery Connection, the name says what we do. So next, after this break, we're going to be talking to Kinzie about her story and where she is and how she got into recovery. So thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution, here at AM 950. Catch you in a few seconds, folks. Thank you. Howdy, howdy, howdy out there in Radio Land. We are back with Redefining Recovery Revolution. Here, Caddy Frink, your host, with Kinzie across the table. Last we left you, Kinzie was saying how there are times when she has been on the phone with folks or they've called back, and it's that connection with people that's super important. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who's listening, and please spread the word about the radio show and just the opportunities that we have in recovery to talk to folks. So in that light, Kinzie, who has a good radio voice we were just talking about, I would like you to maybe give us a little snapshot of what your pre-recovery looked like, maybe starting when you were a youth, a young person, and maybe just kind of what did it look like? Because what we try to do is we try to give people who stories so that when somebody maybe hears something that's familiar with maybe a person they love or they care for in their community, they go, oh, you can recover even from that situation. Mm-hmm. So give us a little snapshot.
Let's see here. So maybe some like little details. I'm the oldest of three. So I will be 27 next month. My sister's 23, and then my brother's 14. My parents were really young. Well, they were 21 and 19 when they had me. So I was at their wedding. I was at their wedding. Yes. I was invited to their wedding. It was their anniversary recently, and I said, "Thanks for inviting me to your wedding."
Wow, yeah. Super fantastic.
So it was funny. So yeah, that's just kind of like a snapshot of just my family order, because I think sometimes that's important to people, you know, just to hear that. But yeah, I mean, youth. I swam competitively for 13 years. I was an athlete.
Wow.
Nothing going on up until like 12 years old is when my mental health really started for me.
What did that look like?
So I had my first hospitalization when I was 12. I had an attempt, had a hospitalization.
Attempt of suicide?
Yes, a suicide attempt.
Okay.
And I just remember like knowing that there was something not right, but not knowing what it was.
At 12, how could you?
Yeah, and just, you know, when I was a kid, like, now mental health is talked about in a way that kids these days have all these, like, outlets and places they can call and text and, you know, all that stuff, and I'm so happy for that. But just then it was like, I don't know what's going on. I feel so different, you know, and so...
Let me just say, so interestingly, when you say that, so we're talking, so you're 27, so that would have been 17, that would have been 15 years ago.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't seem that long ago,
No.
but when you really look at it, 15 years ago, we were in a very different place with mental health issues.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving me like a snapshot. Yeah, just thinking about that, because 27, you're pretty young, but 15 years ago, we were in a different time.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving me that perspective, because some people really need to realize that things can start early because we aren't at the same place now that we were then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was just kind of like, yeah. So I had my first attempt and my hospitalization. Even just like hospitalizations, they weren't the same. You know, they just kind of were like, you know, you're a kid. Like, that's not.
How could that be?
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that?
Yeah, and so there was no like overnight week stays, you know, until I was an adult, and that happened. So, I mean, they happened in a cycle throughout, you know, just 14, 16, I had some more, but around 15 is when my substance use started with alcohol. And I just remember, like, the first time I did it, I was like, the first time I drank, I was like, oh, wow. I feel so good. You know, I don't have to feel so different. You know, I feel nothing and everything at the same time. That's, you know, not what I've been feeling, to put it simply.
It's so amazing that when we struggle with whatever is going on, whether it's mental health, situational, then we pick up that chemical alcohol, usually at youth, and go, oh, it all just seems so much better.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just, it started off kind of just like a weekend party, high school, or, you know, whatever, and I was the kid, because I was an athlete, that always said, I'm never going to touch any of that stuff. You know, I wanted to be the Michael Phelps or the, you know, Ryan Lochte's of the no-nevers. So
Little do we know that Michael Phelps
yeah.
went down the dark alley too.
So, and then just there was more substances that came in with the friends I was hanging out with, like marijuana was in there, amphetamines, so Adderall. Around 16 is when benzos came into the picture, like Xanax or.
So at 15
No.
and 16, how did you get your hands on those?
Yeah, that's crazy is, a lot of kids at my high school, they had those prescriptions, but they would
Dole them out?
give them to people, sell them to people, stuff like that.
Okay.
My high school was very interesting. Then there's a lot of just substance problems at that high school now
Okay.
that I look back. So, yeah, I mean, just everybody was kind of just giving them off to everybody. I mean, it was just
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, because I'm sure there's a lot. There could be parents listening, and they're like, "How did this young woman get a hold of these
Yeah.
things?" Well, they talk about making sure that your medicine cabinet is, locked up, or if you've got a young
Yeah.
person who's on some sort of medication, maybe giving it to them in a controlled environment so
Yeah.
that they don't have it in their backpack
Yeah.
or just open to them. Okay, I wanted to kind of do a little informational session there because that's young to be having those kind of things available to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it was
It was a thing.
it was an interesting time, but and I mean there were kids younger than me that were giving them.
Oh,
yeah,
my
so,
goodness.
But it really got to be more than weekends when the extra substances became a thing, because once the Adderall and the Xanax came, it was like every substance that I began trying was the better thing,
Right.
the thing that made me feel more,
Disconnected,
yeah,
connected, right?
and connected to people,
Yeah.
or I didn't feel like I could make friends very well, or I mean, I just didn't feel good in myself. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. I didn't feel like I just didn't feel like I could take up space anywhere comfortably without just feeling like just negative.
Right. Wow.
So that's why the substances just started to become more and more, taking alcohol from my friend's alcohol cabinet when her parents would leave them unlocked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bringing it home and drinking them, drinking some at night.
When things are available, we take advantage.
Yeah. So I swam throughout high school. Yeah, I mean, I was still an athlete through this whole time. I loved my sport, but I think it was just not my thing. Once high school got done, I went to college at Augsburg for a year. I was not ready for it. And just the partying and the...
So I take it the Step Up program wasn't something that you
I
participated in?
I knew about it,
Okay.
but I didn't know it would be beneficial for me at the
Right.
time,
Well, it's interesting because I think a lot of college students, you get caught up in the party atmosphere and you don't think that you have a problem because everybody's doing what everybody's doing. Would that be somewhat accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
sort of the norm.
Yeah.
Where in fact, how do you define that line between this is everybody's behavior or this is my behavior that's a little bit off the chain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, before I went to college, I had become estranged with my parents.
Okay.
They had found out about my substance use, not in the way I would have preferred. It was kind of a violation of privacy that it happened. But I understand why the estrangement happened, because I had siblings who were either in high school or kindergarten, and they just didn't want that around. I was getting, drunk on weekends and coming home and not knowing I was blacked out still in the morning.
Right.
And they just didn't want it around. So I
But they were
understand that.
as you said, they were concerned about the younger children,
Yeah.
and then they also probably couldn't gauge your behavior either. You were
No.
possibly not acting like the daughter, air quotes, that you should be, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I completely understand that. And so, drinking through college, but I think really the biggest manifestation of my substance use was the last time I was using. I did go to treatment for the first time at 19. I had a family member put me there through like kind of one of those call centers.
Okay.
So I went out of state. In Ohio, that place isn't open anymore.
Is that a good idea that they're not open anymore?
Yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't a good place, really.
Okay.
There was just a lot health stuff going on, and just it wasn't the best
a
place
good
to keep open. And
Okay.
so I went to Florida from there. Florida's got good programs, though.
Okay. So Florida, you went to Ohio, and then that wasn't a good scene. Then your family put you in a place in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was still estranged with my immediate family at this point, so this was my mom's side of the family that was
Guiding you, let's say.
putting me places.
Yeah.
And I mean, my first experiences with treatment were just kind of like, this isn't really that big of a problem for me.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
you're young. You're still kind of enjoying life. You don't see yourself as probably being particularly
Yeah.
different from everybody else you're around. Why are you now being sort of like pigeonholed into this? Would that be
Right,
accurate?
exactly. And I would
Yeah.
hear people's stories around, not even when I was 19, but other treatment centers. And I would hear people's stories of, homelessness, justice involvement. And I'd be like, well, that's not me. So I'm not.
I'm not that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't really care.
Right.
And I just went home and I went right back on
To the behavior.
to
yeah.
the behavior. And so I think that was a mistake.
But you didn't know any better. I mean, I think
Right.
you got to cut yourself some slack. And I think a lot of parents that are out there and family members that support people, and that is at that age,
Yeah.
you got to either somehow there's got to be a huge switch in your head,
Yeah.
or you're going to just go back to what you know, because you weren't old enough yet. You hadn't had lived experiences enough to really kind of help you go, well, that's really a terrible way to go yet. You're still just kind of like doing you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and that's very true because the longer I went, the older I got, the more the substances kind of kept going. The mental health kept piling on top of each other. I don't want to go all the way down down the line, because I think the most important part, just the biggest segment that's really, really important to kind of talk about is, when I was about 21, I went to treatment at a place called Cochrane House in Hastings. They were a part of New Way.
Yeah.
And, I got sober for about a year. I got engaged to somebody.
Sweet.
We were both in recovery. We met in treatment. So if anybody's listening and thinks that's a good idea, it's really, really not. Don't do it.
They do guard against getting in a
Yeah,
relationship
it's
when you're in
just-
because you're not
it's
in
not
a
a
you're
good
not in a
idea.
you got too much in common and then not enough to figure out what the differences
No,
are.
it's just not a good idea. And so, things were going well for a while. This was pre-COVID.
Okay.
So this is where it's kind of where I think the me becoming unhoused really comes in, and the substance use starts to take off, and the mental health just all kind of comes in.
Because so you were in recovery, you met a human, you got engaged,
Had a house.
and,
Everything was like white picket fence perfect.
and then
And then, COVID hit. COVID hit. So I stopped working because I was an Uber driver.
okay.
Contact with people and stuff like that. And then, there were ideas to make money in
Other ways.
Yeah.
That might not be so law abiding potentially.
Yeah, where substances were immediately available. And I knew it wasn't a good idea because I knew I was going to start
Using again.
using again.
Yeah.
And we both were. And I should have said no, but that
That's
does
not-
not matter because, I think it's just learning experiences that I needed to get me to where I am today. And so we got evicted. We were living in hotels. That was kind of the beginning of my unhoused, is living in hotels. And that's the thing that I think people don't know about homelessness and people who are unhoused is it's not always, living on the streets or
I think what I'm gonna say, it's not from going from the white picket fence to living in a tent.
Yeah.
There's a process.
Yeah.
It's sort of a downward spiral.
Yeah.
Would that be accurate?
Yeah,
So people,
yep.
they go from a white picket fence, maybe to a hotel, then maybe a seedier hotel,
Yep,
and
yep.
then there is no resources anymore.
Yep,
So
and-
then the truly
yeah.
perceived unhoused individual, homeless, like we're going to use that word too.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it went for me. I was living in hotels. My substance use was really running just rampant. I was using meth,
Okay.
amphetamine for the first time, and in very high amounts. And that did not help, my mental health. It didn't help anything at all. And so there was just a big event that happened between me and my now ex-fiance where, there's domestic violence in my background, and it was just this big event where it was like, no more.
Right.
And that's when being on the streets homeless
Truly
happened.
homeless.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I don't really know how to explain, like, exactly what that feeling is like, but I just know that it's very lonely, and it's very, like, it's just not something that I understood at the time. So there was just continuous
Being homeless.
yeah, the continuous substance use and just not understanding what was going on and not really knowing what to do or just.
I think what you've just done unknowingly, you've done a really good description of it. We see individuals that are, have the signs on corners, or we hear
Yeah.
about the people in the encampments. And I think what I just saw in your eyes across the table was there's a lost that you can't even identify. It's just you literally don't know what to do next, but survive in the moment. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's a lot of what it is. And I think a lot of it is just, that's a lot of what I want to do with what my position is just not even just use what my experience was, but go places where I can, with permission from people, use what they are experiencing and take it and educate other people. But yeah, it's just a very lost feeling. I have justice involvement, and I feel like going to jail for a while, like in cycles, saved my life because I was so lost.
Yep. It straightens up people's minds in a sense, even at the worst of scenarios,
Yeah.
but in a place where you technically can't get substances. So you kind of got to get a cleaner mind, even if it's the last thing you want.
Yeah.
So let's kind of move forward on this. So the homelessness came to an end. How? What happened next?
So in and out of jails, kind of stuff like that. There hit a point where it was nearing a winter, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I had just gotten out of jail, and I had a PO from Hennepin County who, I don't know, maybe I'll tell her to listen to this, but she was like, you need to find somewhere to go, or like treatment-wise, or you're going to prison, and I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that. I've been given this opportunity to do this before, and I can't. And so I went over to Catholic Charities Dorothy Day, where all my friends were.
Yep.
And, I used opiates for the last time, and I just had a bad reaction. And I was like, if I keep doing this, I am going to die.
Wow.
Or I'm going to go to prison because I'm not going to be able to get myself
Out of it.
Yeah. And so the next day I literally went to the U of M campus, the hospital. That's the only hospital that ever really helped me. My mom works there. And so I went in there and I was like, I need help, please. Like, please just help me. They helped me so many times. And I was like, please, I need help. I want to go to treatment. Like, just help me. And so they put me in the psych ward for a while, and that's
where it all began.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went in and you asked for help, and sometimes people have a bad experience when they go in a real desperate situation, and you're saying that in your case, this time, there might have been other times, this time it worked.
Oh, yeah. And
wow.
There are places, there are times and settings where when I was homeless and unhoused and I, quote unquote, looked the part people would treat me different. So I'm grateful
Treat you like
for,
poop.
yeah. So I'm grateful for the fact that they cared enough and had the, empathy and compassion enough to be like, you know what?
Come on. we got you.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Wow. So you spent some time in a mental health space.
Yes.
Kind of got regulated. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I slept for a while.
That's my understanding. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
I
sleeping.
was withdrawing for a while. I mean, I remember a lady would come in and be like, you need to take your meds and walk around. And I was like, I can't. I just can't walk around right now. And so it was nice to sleep and kind of rest for a while. I had to go talk to a case manager just about where they were going to put me as far as a treatment center. Because that was like what I told them. I was like, I want to go to treatment.
Right. Yeah.
Do
not
do
pass
not
go.
put me back out there again. Like I need to get well. I hadn't had contact with my family at all during this whole
Was that good or bad,
time.
do you think?
I mean, well, I did have some when that event with my ex-fiance had happened, and my mom saw what I looked like on meth, and I had told her before she came and got me, I said, I'm using, and I just want to know that I'm using this substance, and you're not going to like what you see. And it was really hard.
Yeah.
She was the only one that saw it. And I mean, she,
You weren't
yeah.
a pretty picture.
No, and I was in a very deep psychosis at that point because of how much and how quick. And so, I think it was good and bad.
Yeah. Well, I think what I want to take away from what you just said, and that is when an individual is lost in their substance use disorder, we talk about many times how mental health and substance use disorder, they are bedfellows.
Oh, yeah.
Because one eliminates the pain on the other, and then the other one can expedite the feeling. And I don't know which one is worse sometimes, but what you're saying is that the mental health and the substances helped quiet the voices, but then the voices got loud because the mental health was going. It just goes back and forth. And so the thing that when we come back, we got a couple of minutes before we take a break, but what I want to kind of help people maybe understand out there is that if somebody has somewhat undiagnosed or not understood mental health issues, and then they start going off of substance like you did really heavily, you get put into a hospital, it takes time just to clean the body out, not to mention any of the other crap that you got to figure out.
Yeah.
And then you have a family member who loves you because you're their child, but you are a mess. And you're scary to them, right?
Yeah, and even after my mom saw me like that, I disappeared for a while. And I know there's families that experience that where somebody's gone and they don't know where they are. And so, that's why I say it's good and bad. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot,
It's a lot, and I think I just really want people to understand that the person who's struggling with the disease of mental health or substance use, there's so much going on, and the TV shows that we watch, and somebody takes a medication and it all gets fine, and 30 days in treatment, and it's all going to be, put your hands together, it's all going to be better. No. This takes time. You should see Kinzie's head going back and forth. It takes time. And then the people that love the people are both scared.
Yeah.
Delighted that they're in a place where they're safe, and then terrified because they're going to one day get out.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Then it's like this constant. So anybody who's like feeling the energy that I'm getting off of Kinzie right now, which is, this is a lot. And when we come back from break, what I want you to do is I want you to tell us about, you got out of the hospital and you moved on and then you found your recovery, and let's hear the end of the beginning of the journey of recovery is really what it is and where you are.
Okay.
So everybody who's listening, take away that recovery is a lifelong journey. To the woman who's sitting across from Kinzie, I got 24 years in recovery. That don't mean a thing. Every day I have to think about being the best person I can in recovery. So thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution at AM 950. Kinzie and I will be back in a flash. Oh yeah, she says. Again.
Again.
With Kinzie. Woo! So Kinzie was talking about her journey in her substance use and her mental health journey, because they are two peas in a pod is what I've learned from this young lady. And where did you go? So you were in the hospital, you're getting better, you're trying to figure out what's next. You said, I need to go to treatment.
Yeah.
And what happened from there? And then where are you now in a short little window of time?
Okay. I'll start with this. I'm a little over 2 years. I think every year looks different for me so far, you know?
Wow.
So I went to Tapestry for a month. It was kind of like my starter point. That's when I was like, you know what? I should call my family and start talking to them again. And ever since then, I've been talking to them. That was back in like 2022.
Okay.
Went to Anew after Tapestry for about three months. I requested to be there longer just because I knew I needed it. Something longer for me.
Yep.
Because of my situation and where I was at. I had a lot of warrants.
Okay. A lot of justice involved issues.
Yeah, so I had to get in contact with my POs and be like, please don't make me do it. You know, and they quashed my warrants because they were just like, you actually like followed, like you did this by yourself. So
you followed through.
Yeah, so we'll quash these. You know, my cases were closed. Yeah, so I mean, I just met with them there all the time. But yeah, I mean, I basically... What?
Yeah, I want to say something, because some people that listen to this might think, well, you did something against the law, so you should pay the price. And what I want to say is what I think I just saw from you, and that is the justice system and the humanity behind the justice system will sometimes come together and say, if you put yourself into treatment, not for 1 month, but actually for 4 months, you've actually paid back in society because you have actually given yourself time to get better. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, and I got, you know, my main probation officer was really amazing because she worked with people who were homeless. She got those people, and she had a lot of compassion for these situations, and so her and I worked really, really well together. Good. I'm really grateful for that.
Should give her a shout out.
Angela Barnack. I'm going to send this to her when I get the link too. She doesn't work as a PO anymore, but yeah, she's amazing. She was like the perfect person for me in that situation. Perfect. So I really appreciate her and everything she did. But yeah, they quashed my warrants, just kind of met up with me, made my conditions, you know, for probation, what I needed to do. I completed treatment there, and while I was meeting with my parents, you know, my parents would come visit me, and they were like, you know, I kind of had this like thought in my head, like, I don't know if I want to do sober housing, like, I kind of want to go home, but like, I don't know if they'll let me home. And so my mom and dad, and I'm sure they'll listen to this, so we might argue about this later, but I'm pretty sure they said it to me first. Do you want to come home? Should we talk about coming home? And I was like, yeah. So, so they would come visit. And
so you were building up trust again.
Yeah.
As they came to visit, and you're trying to sort of see where one another are at. And that's an important component to a parent who's, first of all, probably mad at their child.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're scared for their child. And then they're confused about their child. And then they're sad again, all in there loving and caring. And then all of a sudden you got a kid, a young woman, really, who's doing the right thing, but then all those emotions are still flying around there. So I want to come home. Okay.
Yeah, and so we met with my counselor. I made like a bunch of documents as far as like just trigger warnings, what the plan is, what my plan is as a person, not what their plan for me is, you know, because I should be accountable for your own
actions.
Yeah. And so April 2023, I went home.
Okay.
My sister was the one that was a little bit more like, you know, her and I did not get along.
Probably scared.
She was very mad at me, you know.
Mad? Can you imagine?
I mean, her and I.
You ditched her.
Yeah. And she gave me permission to say that, you know, we used to fight on text messages, like telling each other, like, I don't like you, you know, like. Yeah. And so it was a lot to gain her trust back. She
Yep.
came and lived at home after she graduated college. So we've all been living at home together. But basically, once I went home, I just went to outpatient at Alina in Fridley. And I mean, that was for about 6 to 9 months. And I'm grateful for that too, because I needed the longevity of just something that gave me like something in recovery with a routine.
Being accountable.
Yeah, I didn't have a license because of my justice involvement.
Which she has gotten back.
Yeah,
I just want to
got
say.
it back. Yeah. And then, I mean, going to AA meetings at least like 3 to 4 times. This is my first year, so I'll do it quick. So my first year was just AA meetings, a lot of AA meetings, being at AA, having a sponsor. I got to about the 9th step, which was making amends. And, a lot of my thing was just like, I've always had it in my head, and I still do, is like, if I'm going to say something, I'm going to do it.
Good job.
With my family, with myself, because it's just like, I can't keep doing the lying to myself and others. It's just not that's just not how I could,
I think that comes with recovery, because
Yeah.
I had similar experience,
Yeah.
and I still do. Yeah. So
Yeah.
where are you today?
Today, I think a lot of my year 2 was just, getting to where I'm at now is focusing on healing from the trauma that I had from the domestic violence that I have in my background. This time last year, I had to go testify in court against my
Ex-person.
Yeah. And so that was an experience that was a lot, but I have therapists that are
Good.
amazing. And I just have built a lot of skills, because I knew that my trauma was going to be the main thing, that if I didn't attend to it, it would bring me back.
Back to
Yeah,
behaviors
back to my substance use, and just taking it out on people that don't deserve it, because that's my MO too. That's how I was when I was younger. That's how I was when I was using. That's how I was when I was just,
Well, you're upset, you're frustrated, you're confused, and so what you're
Yeah.
going to do, you're going to push back.
Yeah, and I
'Cause
don't-
you get a reaction as well as you get to get it out.
Right. And
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
No.
So I just, I see my therapist 2 times a week still, and that's been that way since I was in treatment. And it's been working really well, because that's the biggest, like that, going to the gym, the self-care.
Yep. And then now you've got the position at Minnesota Recovery Connection. And we
and I'm
love
super
you.
excited to do all that, because I think that it could, I'm just really excited to do that. I think we could reach a lot of people, and I think we could educate a lot of people too,
Yeah.
in our system. So.
Well, wow. There's a story. And I want to kind of tie it all together, because I think what you said to me at 27 years old, I think the most important thing that you said that I heard was, it takes a while. And this is a conversation I had with an important person in my life. People think that 30 days in treatment and it's all going to be fine. And I say that somewhat sarcastically, because it isn't. You can't. That's the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
That's just getting off the substance.
Yeah.
We haven't done any work yet.
No.
And then you had 3 months, and then you had time that you put in with your family, and you've got therapy, and you've got taking care of yourself. And so the idea here is that it is a journey, isn't it, Kinzie?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I just want to be the voice that says, if I can do it, you can do it.
Nice.
To put it simply, I had a better way of saying that, but I brain farted, so it's okay.
No, it's okay, because I think people need to know that it can be done,
Yeah.
but we have to give people the time to heal.
Patience.
And then we also have to understand that the people that love the people that are struggling, they are also
Yeah,
struggling, and they're
yeah.
trying to figure out how they figure it out. So I want to thank you, Kinzie.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yay! Well, thank you all for listening. Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. We are a nonprofit organization. If you've got a couple dimes or nickels or dollars in your pocket, feel free to donate to minnesotarecovery.org. Listen to this show via all of your listening apparatuses. And thank you, and have a marvelous day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good weekend.